Hello, my name is Suad Leija, and this is part 3 in a 5-part series. A brief look at my life as the stepdaughter of the founder of the largest Mexican organized crime family in the US. They make about $300 million a year, and most of that comes from counterfeit documents. They sell to illegal aliens as well to terrorists. As this part will confirm, from now on I will refer to counterfeit documents as paper weapon. My husband advised me that the first weapon a terrorist needs in order to cause death and destruction in the United States is a paper weapon. That is a series of documents that identified him as someone else. Once a terrorist has this first weapon, they become invisible. My husband and I were living in Mexico City when my grandfather called to tell me my stepfather Manuel Leija was arrested in Chicago. He asked me if my husband could help somehow. My husband and I had had a long talk about all of this. After the first calls, I decided to help him, with the belief that by helping him in the US, perhaps I could help Manuel. He asked that I talk direct with Manuel's new wife in Chicago and get the answers to several questions. 1. What law enforcement were involved? 2. Was the place searched and anything removed? 3. Are there any computers and other documents in the house that are business related? 4. And last, does she know where he was taken? She told me they were ICE agents. They did not search or take anything, and she did not know where he was taken. When I told my husband the answers, he got on the phone back to the US for several hours, at the same time telling me to make a meeting with my grandfather the next morning at the restaurant next to the US Embassy in Mexico City. This was the first in a series of meetings to make a plan to get Manuel out of jail and out of the US. My husband does not speak Spanish, so I also acted as a translator. The first question to my grandfather was, do you think that some documents sold by the family are sold to terrorists? My grandfather turned to my uncle Jose Luis, and both laughed. My grandfather told me, terrorism is an American problem, not Mexican. We only care for the money. I repeated this to my husband. He just nodded and said to me, tell him I could get Manuel out of jail and bring him to Mexico. My grandfather was very happy and said he would make a big barbecue and we will all drink tequila together when he returned with Manuel. The tag plan sounds a little complicated, but in my husband's mind it was simple, since this is what he did in places such as Cuba and other countries. I will try to explain the basic operation in 2.5 minutes. This has two sides. One, my family's organization, who was represented by my grandfather, Suad Leija. The other, the United States government, that being Immigration and Customs Enforcement, as the lead agency since they had custody of Manuel. My husband and my grandfather agreed that my husband would go to Chicago and put up bail to get Manuel out of jail. And to make this happen, ICE turned Manuel over to Cook County to charge Manuel with forgery and release him from federal custody. That way, Cook County would place a bail on him and my husband could get him out, then get him out of the country. Cook County District Attorney did not know this. In return, my grandfather would give my husband access to the operations in order to improve security, so that this problem would not come up again. My grandfather agreed. My husband's plans was to totally reorganize the operation, giving the government access to the computer and information, including pictures of everybody buying fake documents or paper weapons. This would give the government the opportunity to identify and track potential terrorists. My grandfather did not know this part, or that this was going to be a government operation running the security. This was the plan I was told and believed, and also my grandfather believed. I found out later I was not told the real plan either. At the last meeting, everyone agreed, with one twist. I was to stay with the family until my husband returned with Manuel. I was a hostage. It was agreed that I moved in with my Uncle Pedro's wife until he returned with my stepfather. I was very scared, even when my husband assured me everything would be okay. We would talk every day. I did have faith he would not let anything happen to me. He then left to the United States. My life stopped at that time and would not start again until I was with him again. Thank you. Please look for the fourth part.